Hey ChemStars, welcome to your Chapter 12 homework packet. It's Ms. Macaulay here, and I'm going to be bringing you page 1. This is the same page 1 for level 1 and level 2 Chem. If you don't have a paper copy, you can always double click or right click on the digital version and make a copy that way, or copy it out on loose leaf paper. So let's just review what we learned in chapter 6.5 with our Vesper and Polarity. So we already covered some of this in our Vesper, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. Now don't worry, we're not going to do molecular geometry again. We're going to do some easier fun stuff. What I want you to remember though is that like dissolves like. We know that polar dissolves other polar molecules and ionic compounds, and nonpolar dissolves other nonpolar molecules. So think about it. Water. What does water dissolve? It dissolves salt. Salt's an ionic compound. And it dissolves other polar things. But does water dissolve oil? No, because oil's nonpolar. Think back to that lab we did. What did oil dissolve? It dissolved iodine, and food coloring only dissolved in water. Alcohols, which we haven't really covered yet, they have characteristics of both polar and nonpolar molecules. They're called miscible agents, and they can dissolve polar and nonpolar together. That's an example of like why you can put dry gas into your gas tank in the winter and it will mix the water into your gasoline so it doesn't stall out. Alcohols tend to dissolve both types, but they will not dissolve ionic solids. So what we're going to do here is we're going to check the appropriate columns as to whether the solute is soluble in a polar or nonpolar solvent. Remember from the video notes, the solute is what gets dissolved, and the solvent, see the sol olive right there, this is what does the dissolving. So these are all my solvents. Water, which is polar, it will dissolve ionics too, and polar. CCl4, think back to our Vesper. On this one, all those bonds cancel each other out. It's nonpolar, so it will only dissolve nonpolar things. And alcohol will dissolve polar and nonpolar, but it will not dissolve ionic. So what we need to go through is we need to go through our solutes and categorize them and classify them. So I want to find all my ionic compounds first. So I'm going to look for a metal. So for the first one, sodium chloride, this is an ionic compound. It's like an extreme polar. Okay, iodine, not a metal. Ethanol, not a metal. Benzene, don't know about that yet. Bromine, potassium nitrate right here. Look at this one. That's a metal, so this is going to be an ionic compound. Toluene, don't know about that yet. And calcium, ionic. So I've gone through here and I've identified all my ionic things. So what will ionic dissolve in? It's an extreme polar. Water will dissolve. Yep. Will it dissolve in a nonpolar solvent? Nope. And will ionic compounds dissolve in alcohol? Nope. So we have that one done. Number 1's done. Same thing for the potassium nitrate. It's ionic. It's a salt. It'll dissolve in water. Won't dissolve here. Won't dissolve here. And then our calcium hydroxide. Yep, it'll dissolve in water. Nope. Nope. Won't dissolve. Here, it might be easier. Let me try and adjust the zoom here so we can see the whole thing at once. Let's go back to 200. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay. Now let's just go to the next thing on the list. I2. So this is iodine bonded to iodine. So if we're looking at that bond, it looks like this. No matter what the electronegativity values are, the electronegativity difference is going to be 0. So this will be perfectly non-polar. So will it dissolve in water? Nope. But yes, it will dissolve in CCl4. And now alcohol on this one. Will alcohol dissolve non-polar things? Yes, to an extent. Okay, we don't know about ethanol yet, but let me give you a hint right here. Ethanol, alcohol. Alcohol and ethanol, they have a similar ending, and you'll learn about these in AP Chem or Organic Chem. So ethanol is a type of alcohol. There's actually lots of different types of alcohol. So will alcohol dissolve in water? Ethanol has a little bit of polarity. Will it dissolve in water? Yeah, it should. Let's double check our directions up here. Alcohols, which have characteristics of both polar and nonpolar, tend to dissolve in both types of solvents. So will alcohol dissolve in polar water? Yes. Will alcohol dissolve in nonpolar CCl4? Yes. Will alcohol dissolve in other types of alcohol? Yeah, probably. So it should dissolve in all that stuff. Okay, next one, benzene. We have to go to Google for this one because we have not covered benzene and toluene. So here's a quick Google search. Polarity of benzene. According to the table of organic solvent polarity, the relative value for benzene is 0.1 and 0.09 for toluene. So it's essentially nonpolar. It's very, very symmetrical, and all those bonds cancel each other out. So look at polarity of toluene. Here's a kind of a list of some of those things. They're very, very nonpolar. So that's how I got these here. So benzene's nonpolar, toluene's nonpolar. So if it's nonpolar, will it dissolve in water? Nope. But it will dissolve in CCl4, and it will dissolve a little bit in alcohol. Since we're talking about it, let's skip down to toluene. Nonpolar, won't go in water, but it will go in CCl4. It will dissolve, and it will dissolve a little bit in alcohol. Okay, our Br2 is really similar to our I2, so they're sharing. They'll have exactly a polarity value of 0, so they are perfectly nonpolar, won't dissolve in water, will dissolve in CCl4, and will kind of dissolve in alcohol probably because it dissolves both. Okay, and look, that's it. We're done with page 1. Awesome. Page 2, I'm going to come back for another video, and we'll be looking at these solubility curves. See you next time, guys. Don't wait to be great. Bye.